How about a quick vid for new people? This is by Combi, Bi, Cambi. Okay, whatever. I'm sorry, dude, for I butchered your name like 17 times in a row too. How about a quick vid for new people that goes over commanders that don't have a breakdown vid? Why they are/aren't good? Should they just be used to raise leadership up and then feed your main? Okay. Well, that's. I'm glad you asked that question, Ca- friend. Let's take a look. So, I don't really know. I'm just gonna guess off the top of my head which commanders have a video for them because I don't know what video like. I haven't done a lot of commander breakdown videos. I normally do concept breakdown videos, but I know like Mandalore and Suave and Melt have all done breakdown videos. So I'll do my best here to kind of go through some of these commanders and in like a couple of sentences tell you why they suck so bad and nobody has done a breakdown video for them. Flair is decent enough beginning of the game. People don't know. I don't think anyone's done a breakdown video for, or I should say, we don't typically call him a good commander past the very, very early game, and we say don't even put a ton of leadership in him because it's not until later in the game that you start getting the multiple release tokens that you need and the BCOM tokens in order to get him up to S class easily enough. So you don't want to like lose leadership on him for a long time. He's decent enough in the beginning of the game because he does have a sure hit skill, and in the beginning of the game the meta is dodge meta. You know, everybody starts building on Gales and they put on dodge gems and thalamus boosters that have dodge. So anything that counters dodge is going to be great. And of course, because you're going to be using him with soul eaters in the beginning of the game, he'll have some accuracy. So I'll actually do pretty decent. And he does ignore an HP buff. However, in the early game, people aren't really racking up the buffs that much, especially not HP. However, and refraction armor, however, is why he's not decent, you know, further on in the game. The fact that this doesn't really bring anything to the party. It reduces the enemy's accuracy, but honestly, the beginning of the game is dodge meta, so you probably have a bunch of dodge on you, and this is too much of like a full slot mentality. Infantry generally doesn't deploy a lot of troops. They're not expecting to go multiple turns. They're not trying to bank up successive debuff stacks on the enemy generally. So because of that, because we don't build a main commander around the 20% skill, and because it's going to take you a while to get your initial leadership back based on the point in the game that you're in, for that reason we say don't invest a lot into Flair. The reason that we say don't invest a lot into Luna is, I mean, look, she's got this thing like Maruko, where she could kill actual enemies, you know, with units. She kills units like Maruko. You know, like the way that Bullet does, it's just based on something different. And of course, the limit of this is based on her normal attack damage. And for that reason, this isn't a great skill because we've got other commanders in the game that kill units, and they don't have this delimiter on them. So like Bullet, you know, Bullet is, you know, basically anything under B or lower, almost always, or definitely C and D, you know, are considered the same kind of rarity. As far as you know, I think this Bullet D might be a C. I don't friggin' know. He's just as he's just as common as Luna is, basically, and he's got a 40% skill that does the same things that Luna's 20% skill does, except it doesn't have the delimiter based on damage. And then again, for the same reason as Flare, for Flare's refraction armor, the same reason that is just a bad skill for him. It's the same reason bio armor is not a great skill. Again, this is that's something a tank would do, a commander that expects to stay on the field for a while, and that's not something that we look for in Luna. All right, let's keep this going, and then we'll keep that going. So again, even though Luna, Flare, and all those other comms, like all those other D and C comms, and B comms, even though they're very easy to awaken, if they don't have a decent skill at 40%, we just kind of dismiss them out of hand, because there are options that just do the job better. I'm not sure where on the hierarchy Luna would be. I think further down than Flare, but essentially it doesn't matter, because at this point they're so far down the list that if they can't qualify for having a 40% hit skill that is decent, then we just dismiss them out of hand. Bullet. I think plenty of videos have been made about Bullet. Grievous. So Grievous is a native A commander, and he can actually activate both of his first two skills on any troop type. Why don't we consider him a good commander? We don't consider him a good commander because the increase on... Okay, so stimulant increases attack, which normally you say, yeah, increasing attack is great. It only scales at 1% per level, and it's 20% skill. And again, we don't expect the rounds to go very long. So whether you kit this guy out with air and expect to be a little bit tankier, or you kit this guy out with infantry, which is generally what people do. I very rarely see people use walkers on him. But anyway, if you're going to use that kind of stuff, then in general, you're not going to last long enough for enough triggers of stimulant to go off to impact the battle in a big way. The issue with energy absorption, however, is you must hit in order for energy absorption to give you back your HP, in order for you to heal. So while you say, yeah, it's an 80% skill, and that's a huge deal, however, the necessity to also tie that in with either enough accuracy or another sure hit skill, like Gemini or Scorpio, which have low percentages, actually, this serves to obfuscate the actual percentage that you need for energy absorption, because that 80% is simply not enough. So in many, many cases, you're going to need something like a 20% skill and an 80% skill. Or you could stack, let's say you stack 2 gem sets, right? If you stack 2 gem sets, then even like with sure hit skills, still your best case scenario, I feel, is about 25%. It's closer to 30%, but it's not 30% that this actually will hit. So because you need to stack because the 80% skill needs to be stacked with a number of 20% skills, it's actually a deceptive figure. And in fact, his heal skill, I will argue, is not an 80% activation, and it is much closer to 25% activation. And once again, we do not build, and at best case scenario, it's slightly north of 30. But again, we do not build main commanders around we need a 40% proc rate on a skill to build a main commander. So Grievous falls short. Why did it say she was not there? All right. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I should just record this video. Okay. We're 4 commanders in. Okay. Kraken. The Kraken is widely regarded as one of the worst commanders. He's also like Grievous in that he's the ACOM, and also like Grievous' first 2 skills will trigger on any troop type. So why don't we say main Kraken? So his first skill is 20%. The reason I have to read the skills is because I don't remember what these fucking commanders do. 20% chance to trigger before action. Soldier's attack increases by 2% until next action. Okay, so this triggers. It's at 1% per level, which is that the same as stimulant? Yeah, it's the same as stimulant. And it does the exact same friggin' thing. It says it triggers before the action, but it lasts until next action, which that's a fancy way of saying it triggers once and it doesn't stack. So, again, for the same reason that's shitty on Grievous, that's shitty on Kraken, Total Awakening, 40% chance to trigger. Our soldiers' attack and defense will increase, but this is the same thing as stimulant. In fact, wait, I said it's the same. That is stimulant, right? So this is shitty again. All this does is it increases attack and defense. It's a 40% skill, but Badger, we build around 40% skills, but not ones that are utter junk. This, at level 60, it gives you plus 60% attack, plus 60% defense, and it doesn't stack. He sucks. Okay, Maruko. Damage is then equal. Okay, so... Wait a second. Damage dealt is equal to current health until next time I deal. Okay, so he has two capabilities that are they're decent. They don't suck, but because on the 40% skill, I know I gotta speed this along. On the 40% skill, there's that 300% delimiter on normal attack damage. Again, he's worse than Bullet at this thing. Yes, his first skill is better. However, his second skill is worse, and the second skill is what we look for generally when we're building a main comm, and it means we're not trying to get... I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there are plenty of main comms out there that have just one decent skill and one shitty skill. It's better to have one good skill and one bad skill than it is to have like two mediocre skills. We don't want mediocre skills. Mediocre skills do not win battles. Good skills win battles, just like good equipment wins battles. Good gems win battles. Shitty stuff doesn't ever do anything for you. So this is why Bullet is better than Mariko, especially because Mariko is a BCom when he starts out. So he's hard to keep awakened. All right. This is my favorite one. This is lightning. Oh, wait, I gotta... Hold on. Okay. Accuracy of enemy forces will decrease by 1% per level. That sucks. Bio armor is the same thing as this one's bio armor. What's the difference between... Yeah, this is better. Okay. Luna's better than Raiden, but Raiden sucks. Yeah, we don't, is that the same as... Do these guys just all share shit? Do they all just share shit? Yeah, they do. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, whatever. This one sucks. Nico, we know Nico. Golem, we know Golem. Lilith. Lilith is a utility commander. If there isn't a breakdown video on her, it's not because she doesn't deserve one. So I'm going to skip her. Ichiro. Thermal armor. This, again, like, infantry you can't tank. So all these tanky infantry capabilities are weird. And the fact that your attack increases when you kill a slot of enemy, like, who cares? And for that same reason, Echo is, crap. You don't need a buff after you do the deed, generally. When you need the buff, you need a buff to proc before you do the deed to help you get that shit done, okay? Let's take a look. Do I need to send out more peeps? Yeah, I do. So, the fact that Ichiro gives you this attack buff after the units die, like, that shit doesn't matter to you. It's too little too late. Okay. We left off at Ichiro. We're really blasting through here. Okay. How many times can I say okay? Soda Man. Shrapnel armor. So native ACOM again. Shrapnel armor, 20% chance. Increases defense. Okay, whatever. They're dealt damage. You know, we don't really care. We don't really care about that. 100%. If last attack kills all enemy, we don't need a buff that increases crit. That doesn't also increase damage in some way. It's not even an anti-crit with her calm because you need to kill the stack to get it done. I don't need that shit. Just give me a 40% or a 60% buff. Next. Sensi, native BCom, I think. Target skips their next action. Okay, so this is... And super fort. Okay. This is the opposite of Lilith, right? Except not as good. So Lilith has a 30% and a 60%. Sensei has a 20% and a 40%. His skip is 20%. Lilith's skip is 60%. The utility that you would use him for is not to give himself a damage, like an HP shield, a damage shield. What you would use him for, his utility would be to make the enemy skip a turn. As Lilith does that 3 times more often as he does, he gets knocked off the board. Even though he's a native B-com, Lilith's a native A-com, it's not acceptable to build you can't build it around a 20% skill. I said it once, I'll say it a billion times. Okay. Fabienne. Again, I mean, the 20%, I mean, I shouldn't even be looking at these 20% skills, but I can tell you, like, I mean, the original request is, why don't we build some of these commanders up? So I'm going to tell you everything that's shitty about these commanders. Okay. This is the same thing as NB55 and kind of the same thing as Hancock. The issue is that you could only ever stack this twice because, like, let's say your slot 1 goes off and does the armor breaker, and then your slot 4 goes off, both on their slot 1, and then you could reduce their defense by 120%. But that's too low of a percentage. It's a 4% chance, and they have to survive. You know, you got to survive those four slots. You know, no thanks. Acid bomb. Wow, she just does a lot of decreasing defense. But again, you know, the issue here is that it is simply that it is held back by the same thing. That if these hit all enemy slots, you know what? She might be a thing, honestly. Although I would have liked to see Acid Bomb be 60%, but actually not terrible. You know, Hancock is just so much better. All right. I haven't looked at some of these in like years, so I'm like surprised by some of the things that they do, and have more understanding now in some of the things that they do that we just kind of sidelined them. But, you know, ultimately, let's just check on my comms, yeah. Ultimately, what I think, I'm finding as I'm going through this, and I think you guys are probably finding if you're listening to me, is that ultimately the trend is that we just don't use the commanders that have low proc rates on their skills. We will tolerate commanders that have skills that do not mesh together. We will not tolerate We will tolerate commanders that don't know what they're doing, but we will not tolerate commanders that are unlucky. You know, we require. I mean, even 40% in general is low, and we look for like 60%. And if the comm only has 40%, it better be great at it and not have like a whole bunch of limits. And also, the comm better be a native B comm or lower. Oh my goodness! I thought it was is native A comm. We don't need buffs to our crit rate. You know, in general, we crit all the time. And we don't need debuffs. This is a debuff to the enemy dodge and a buff to your crit, 20% and 40%. Her skills are, They have no meaning to us in the current meta. Cerberus is a native ACOM, 20% chance. Defense of the... okay, so this, this is a debuff to defense. Again, that's great. However, again, we need to line up 2 of these procs. And we need to align that by 2 slots in a row. We need these kinds of skills to hit all enemies or to have some kind of other way to stack or like a higher rate. This 1% per level is not going to cut the mustard with us. And then we've got Hydra-headed attack, 40% chance. Basically, you get 3 attacks, except the second and third attack are 60% of your damage. A lot of people went, if they spent early in the game but didn't know what they were doing, they went for Cerberus, not realizing that they could get Stella pretty quickly. Cerberus is a fake Stella. Do not be seduced by her. By the fact that it's 40% skill to do extra attacks, and that the attacks are not in sure hit skills, and that he is not a native BCOM. And that for his first skill to really work, it needs to hit successively by 2 slots aligned with each other. All of these things, just conspire to make, Cerberus not ever part of the meta. Stella will always beat him out. Whatever. Echo. There's an additional attack. Okay, damage will be 1%. Okay, so you're going to recover some HP. You're going to do an additional attack. It's 20% skill. We don't care about that. If you kill the enemy's stack, then your attack increases. Covered this before with Ichiro. It's too narrow of a utility because you don't know, most of the time, you do not know the enemy's formation. It's just, and there are other comms that do similar utilities without giving you like a buff. Like Hoodoo has a similar utility, which is that if you kill a stack, he's a stack killer. If you kill a stack, he damages other enemy stacks. So this, if you kill a stack, then you get a buff, which gives you more damage later on. Whatever. Rita, a 20% dodge increase buff. In today's day, even though this is double, so this is going to be 120%. I don't need this bonus to my dodge because I have Awaken. So this is, unfortunately, it's just worthless. Okay, after dodging enemy normal attacks in this state, attackers will be dealt damage. So this is the same thing as like Plasma's skill, is energy transfer skill. So she needs to trigger this, then the enemy needs to attack that slot, then she needs to dodge it. So again, this is something that I would argue, in fact, is not a 60% chance skill. And in fact, despite the fact, number one, you have to make sure your dodge is higher than the enemy's accuracy. Assuming that, then this is not a 60% hit. This is not a 60% proc rate in my book because it's 60%, and then also you multiply by the chance that the enemy will not get a sure hit skill. And depending on the enemy, this could actually be a very low percentage. It might be an enemy that's very accurate. Against King, she's worthless, this commander. And, the damage will equal the 3%, so scales at 1.5% per level. You could do 90% of a normal attack. In general, we don't win battles with normal attacks. We win battles with skill procs. So it's just not enough damage. And it relies on too awkward of a rhythm sequence that she has to proc it, then the enemy has to go. So, ideally she has to go first. If she doesn't go first, then she wants to do it on a later slot than the slot. It becomes very, very difficult to ensure that she will proc it, survive, or she will survive to proc it, then survive after it, then dodge the enemy's attack. Worthless. Moonshadow is a very accurate commander, which is great. She's got a 20% sure hit skill and a 40% sure hit skill, and they do some interesting things, and I'm not going to go through them. However, the fact of the matter is just that Medusa is better at shit than she is. That's it. I mean, Medusa has a 20% and a 60%, and I think it's that her... Is it her 20% that gives every single... No, her 20% and 40, sorry, it's the same. However, her 40% gives every single one of her stacks a sure hit skill, and they are basically normal attacks, and so she could do her normal crit damage bonus on there. And she's a native B skill, and she's a native B comp. Moonshadow isn't. And she's got all of these limits on her sure hit skills. And I don't like that. So she's not used as a main comp. And again, like, not coming here to say you guys can't use these commanders as main commanders. What I'm saying is that if you choose to use these commanders as main commanders, know that there are better options for you out there. Those options are probably cheaper or the same cost as well. So, I mean, you should do whatever you want, but you could be making better choices, basically, if you're maining one of these comms. Okay, let's continue on. Let's continue. These are only the comms that I do have. We also have to go through the comms I don't have. Okay. Black, I want to talk about Black. I think that... Yeah, I don't want to talk about Black. Let's talk about Elixir. So, she's got the initial damage... Okay. This basically negates... It's a damage shield. We don't build infantry with damage shields. And we have better options to do multiple attacks on infantry than Twin, and it's simply because this is only 2 attacks, number one. Whereas remember, even Cerberus had 3 attacks, but Stella has a 60% chance to proc. I mean, she's got a 36% chance that she's going to get 3 attacks. To get 2 attacks, she's got a 60% chance she's going to get 2 attacks. And yeah, I get it that, well, Twin does more damage, more than normal attack damage, right? It's 2% per level, so it's going to do 120% damage. So she'll actually do increased damage on the second hit. However, with with Wings of Eternity and even Mysterious Wind of X, they could proc a skill again. Oh, okay. Well, this could trigger skills also. So I mean, it's just going to come down to the fact that they could do more hits, and that their second skill actually is worth something, right? So Mysterious X, the X has Bloodthirst, which when she kills a stack, she gets a guaranteed hit, which we love that. We love guaranteed hits, and many times that's the hit on the arc, and it ends up killing the enemy, which is great. And then of course Stella, which has Dizzy, which is a great debuff on the enemy that stacks and really plays into getting her to be able to stay on the field a little bit longer. All right. Anyway, I don't want to talk about Satalia, but let's talk about Kakarot. Decreases defense, so turns out there are a lot of comms that do this stuff, which are not ignoring the buff, but remember, decreasing, if they happen multiple times, you could actually reduce the enemy's base defense down below their base troop defense, ultimately to 1, which, what does that mean? That means you do thousands of times more damage. However, actually, I don't freaking know. This says it could stack, but it says temporarily. I don't know when this ends. So we're going to have to ask the devs about that. But again, this is 20% skill, whereas Hancock has a 30% skill, and he does it to all enemies. But yeah, that's interesting. That Kakarot stuff. Let's take a picture of that. But yeah, don't get excited about Kakarot. And then he's got freeze armor, which gives him increased defense, and whatever. It's damage mitigation, 40%. We don't like these skills, these 40% damage mitigation in the future that mean that I have to make sure that this guy's slot goes before the enemy. Yeah, interesting to see what armor piercing shell does, but again, 20%. We don't build the main comm around 20%. We will only do it, and I keep mentioning Hancock. We will only do it. We will only do it with Hancock in a 30% skill, because he hits all of the enemy slots, and because it lasts till the end of battle. So that is like multiple procs. Rocket. Yeah, this is just the standard low debuff at 1% per level, and this is like Reinhardt's skill. Of course, though, 20%, you can't do anything with 20%. Okay. Accuracy of our forces will increase 1% per level. Unfortunately, 60%. I realize this could stack, and this is going to do it to everybody in your party. Great, but 60% really doesn't do much. And don't give me a ramp-up commander, please. I need a ramp-up commander with survivability. I don't need a ramp-up commander for damage dealing. Overdrive, 40%. This is, again, the same thing as Hydra-headed attack. And, again, because, yes, the first skill plays into the second skill, but don't give me a ramp-up commander to do damage. I want to come out of the gate swinging. And the fact that I have to make sure that I have enough accuracy to hit, just makes this comm no bueno. Mary. Let's see, 20%. Additional attack. Great. Who cares? And then 40% counterattack. The commander doesn't bring enough to the party. The fact that it needs to get hit in order to do a 90% of normal attack damage. Like, we need skills that actually do stuff, not skills that react to stuff by, making a weak attack. Okay, so we did Mary. Let's do Megan. Viscous armor. 20% chance to trigger. Gives you some extra defense. 0.5% per level. That sucks. If you kill the stack, your defense increases by 2% per level. No. Right now the meta is anti-defense. I don't like this thing where I have to kill stacks to get buffs. And ultimately, that reduces this capability to 5 times in a battle. And what is that going to give me? So 2% per level. So 120% each time. So it's going to give me a max of 6. Well, actually, that's defense. It's not attack. I don't need this. The more you kill enemy stacks, the less capable the enemy is to kill you anyway. Eastwood. I was calling him Eastman for a while. Because I'm stupid. 20%. All of your troops' defense increases. Meh. Okay, 40%. You're in a natural force state, and you heal. You can't build a commander around a single heal skill. There needs to be something else to the party. Like, for example, when we go to Elf, Elf has a 60% heal skill, which we like, and then she's got a 40% kill units, not deal damage skill, which is great. And, who else? There's Vega, right? Vega's got a heal skill, but he's got a disregard buff skill. So we can't build around, just a heal skill, unfortunately, which is really all this is, because this increase of defense and this air needs some help to do damage, and we have better options out there for tanky air comms. I don't want to talk about Tina. Anyone that I say I don't want to talk about means, there is some... I think that there's, some kind of room to, if not main the comm, use the comm as a utility comm. Okay. We have better options. Demon Seal works, like the same as was like Impact. What is it? This one, Sneak Attack. There are a few others that did the same thing. They like kill units, which is great. But again, we have better options there, and chance to trigger after attacks. The troop does not kill. Oh, this is the opposite of killing a stack. If you don't kill the stack, your defense goes great. 60% defense. I don't give a shit about. Yes, I get it. It'll be able to stack, but this just isn't enough, man. I can't build a comm around this. I don't want to talk about this guy. Axe has his heal skill at 0.5% per level, which is just crap, and then a defensive buff. Well, it's again not enough to bring to the party. Albert has his second skill can be triggered by all troop types, which in general means nothing for us. People, you use troop types in a battle that can trigger your comm skills, and so you might go, well, any troop type triggers flash cannon. Yeah, but 2 out of the 67% of them don't trigger shock attack. So I mean, we like to trigger procs. So again, this defense is reduced, but this is 0.5% per level. So no, 40%. The attack of the target is lower. This doesn't bring anything to the party. It just don't prolong the battle and not give me a way to win. So unless excuse me, unless you're going to give me some way to increase my damage, don't give me a way to just prolong the fight. Jigen. Damage is reduced 20%. Yeah, we don't care. 40%. The target of an attack this turn and another random slot of enemies are the last to take action. Defense falls by 0.5% per level. This is unpredictable, and while it's interesting, Jigen doesn't have enough going for him to actually make this decent. It's interesting, but just the same as Echo is interesting. But what does that do for me at the end of the day? NB55. I talked about this one pretty recently. Counterattack we're not even going to look at. The fact that in order for Armor Crusher to actually get a decent amount off on the enemy is that your slot 1 and your slot 4 needs to proc it on the enemy's slot 1. So it's just, we don't build skills that you need to trigger two specific slots in a row in the same round and bank on the enemy not living. It's not how we play fights. And the fact that he's really only, even remotely useful in Peak and World Event, Ace of whatever. I'm not going to talk about him. Okay, 2% per level. This is like Vega's Breakdown, except 2% per level. Vega's Breakdown is 2% per level, but it's 20% instead of 40. All your troops' defense and dodge rate increases. If this were flipped around, it might be something, but again, Vega gets the job done twice as often, and he has made a BCOM, which means you can keep him awakened. So he gets the job done better and cheaper. Yeah, Ether Shield. Okay, in theory, tanking skills are great. In theory, if they do enough. But the problem is that his attack skill, the way that he does damage, the slot needs to live through your attack, and then have the next turn. in order for this to happen, and can only do as much damage as a normal attack. We need skills to amplify damage. I'm not going to talk about him. I'm not going to talk about her. I think more testing should be done on Thunder Ray. His skill is basically like... His first skill is basically like Virgo. But, I mean, look, he's out there. I don't think enough testing has been done on him. I think he's kind of cool. I know there's been stuff on Robin. Yuri is widely regarded as the worst commander in the game. Okay, so... So, Brute Force, this is actually funny. I mean, I always say Yuri is widely regarded as the worst commander in the game, but he should be tried in peak now. I mean, he's got this 20%. The issue is that it doesn't last to the end of the fight, whereas Hancock's does last till the end of the fight. Hancock does it at 30%. Yuri does it at 20%. Hancock reduces enemy attack and defense. Yuri reduces enemy dodge and defense. We don't really care about the dodge as much as the attack. And this is until the next action. I think this just I don't think this stacks. If this stacks, it's something to look into. If it doesn't stack, it's, virtually worthless. Unwavering. Counter all attacks. Yeah, I forget how much damage it does, but I believe that Mary does a better counter attack. Raymond is actually decent. I won't go over these are new people, right? Cohen. 20% sure hit skill, great, and must be triggered before. I think this is 40% heal skill. Yeah, I mean, if this were the other way around, then it would be great. And he doesn't suck. I'll tell you what, he does not suck for early game. But the fact of the matter is that you got Vega that does better, for later on, and there's other comms that do some damage. Raymond is also great. So there you go. That's kind of... We talked about utility comms, and we went through the whole roster. Someone had asked, like, hey, what, people usually dismiss out of hand. Why do we not play certain comms? So I was hoping to, answer that person's question, and on the off chance that they're one of the people here, because probably... I don't know. I'm going to have to edit this. This is going to be crazy to edit. But at any rate, I'll have to do it in another format. Wanted to answer that question, like, instead of just saying we don't play a certain... Why do we not... We don't play Luna, why not? Well, we just don't. I wanted to go through this and kind of explain, well, why are these commanders shit? And so that you'll understand why we don't play them, and, gain an appreciation for why do we play certain commanders. So thank you for joining me today. I'm going to get back to making some pumpkin pie.